January 17, 1966. A B-52 Stratofortress carrying 4 hydrogen bombs collides with a refueling tanker over the coast of Spain. The aircraft disintegrates at 31,000 feet. 4 nuclear weapons fall toward the Earth, and for a moment, just a moment, the world holds its breath. This wasn't a war. It wasn't an attack. It was Tuesday. That's what people forget about the Cold War. The weapons built to end civilization weren't locked away in some vault waiting for the order that never came. They were out there, every single day, on planes, on submarines, in silos buried beneath American farmland, loaded, armed, ready. And here's the question nobody asks. What happened to all of them? Because right now, as you watch this, there are approximately 12,500 nuclear warheads still in existence across 9 nations. Down from a peak of over 70,000 at the height of the Cold War. That means somewhere between the dawn of the atomic age and today, tens of thousands of the most destructive weapons ever built just disappeared. Where did they go? The answer is stranger, more dangerous, and more complicated than you've been told. To understand where these weapons went, you have to understand what the world looked like when they were built. It's 1952. The United States has already dropped atomic bombs on 2 cities. The Soviet Union has just tested their own, and the generals on both sides are running the same terrifying calculation. If war breaks out, real war, the only way to survive is to hit first, hit harder, and hit everything at once. That philosophy had a name. Mutually assured destruction. MAD. And it wasn't a deterrent strategy, it was a design brief. Every weapon built in that era was engineered around a single assumption: civilization ends. The only question is who ends it first. The United States responded with something called the Single Integrated Operational Plan, the SIOP. Classified for decades, when it was finally declassified, analysts were stunned. At its peak, the SIOP called for the simultaneous launch of thousands of nuclear warheads against the Soviet Union, China, and their allies. Not hundreds, thousands. Estimated casualties in the first wave, 600 million people, dead in hours. The weapons built to execute that plan were unlike anything before or since. Start with the bombs themselves, the B-53, 9 megatons. That's 9 million tons of TNT in a single weapon. For comparison, the bomb dropped on Hiroshima was approximately 15 kilotons. The B-53 was 600 times more powerful, 600 times, and the United States built 340 of them. They weren't subtle. They were designed to destroy hardened Soviet command bunkers buried deep underground, the kind of targets you couldn't eliminate with precision. You eliminated them with sheer geological force. The B-53 remained in service until 1997. Then the order came to dismantle them, every single one. The dismantlement process took place at the Pantex plant in Amarillo, Texas, the only facility in the United States capable of handling weapons at that scale. Workers there called the final B-53 dismantlement the last B-53. They marked the occasion on October 25, 2011. It had taken 14 years to take apart 340 bombs. But dismantlement isn't the same as gone. The physics packages, the fissile cores, the enriched uranium and plutonium, none of that just vanishes. It gets stored, processed, cataloged, and in many cases it sits in government facilities waiting for a use that may never come. The United States currently holds approximately 87 metric tons of weapons-grade plutonium. The Department of Energy has been trying to figure out what to do with it for 30 years. They still haven't solved it. Then there were the delivery systems, the missiles, the Titan II, a liquid-fueled intercontinental ballistic missile standing 103 feet tall, capable of delivering a 9-megaton warhead to a target over 6,000 miles away. The United States operated 54 of them, buried in hardened silos across Arizona, Arkansas, and Kansas. Here's the thing about liquid-fueled missiles. They are extraordinarily dangerous to maintain. August 9, 1965, Searcy, Arkansas. A maintenance crew working on a Titan II silo is exposed to fuel oxidizer. 53 workers are injured. 1 is killed. September 19, 1980, Damascus, Arkansas. A maintenance worker drops an 8-pound socket wrench. It falls 70 feet. It punctures the missile's fuel tank. The resulting explosion blows the 740-ton silo door hundreds of feet into the air. The EW-53 thermonuclear warhead, 9 megatons, lands in a ditch 200 feet from the silo. The warhead did not detonate. Eric Schlosser's investigation into that incident found that the safety mechanisms had come within a single switch of catastrophic failure. One switch. The Titan II program was canceled in 1984. The missiles were decommissioned, the silos demolished, but one silo was preserved. You can visit it today. The Titan Missile Museum, outside Tucson, Arizona. Standing in that launch control center, looking at the equipment, understanding what it was designed to do, it changes something in you. The submarines are a different story entirely. The United States Navy's ballistic missile submarine fleet, the SSBNs, were the most survivable leg of the nuclear triad. The logic was brutal in its simplicity. You can find a bomber, You can track a silo. You cannot find a submarine hiding in 3 million square miles of ocean. At the peak of the Cold War, the United States operated 41 fleet ballistic missile submarines, known in the Navy as 41 for Freedom, each one carrying 16 nuclear missiles, each missile carrying multiple independently targetable warheads. The math on what that fleet represented is almost incomprehensible. Those submarines are mostly gone now, decommissioned, dismantled under arms reduction treaties. The Ohio-class boats that replaced them carry Trident II D5 missiles. And while the number of submarines has shrunk, the precision has increased so dramatically that military analysts consider a single Ohio-class submarine to be more strategically powerful than the entire 41-boat fleet of the Cold War era. The weapons built for the end of the world didn't disappear, they got better. But here's where the story gets uncomfortable, because not all of these weapons were tracked, not all of them were accounted for, and not all of them ended up where they were supposed to. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, it left behind the largest nuclear arsenal ever assembled, approximately 45,000 warheads spread across 15 newly independent nations, maintained by an army of underpaid, demoralized scientists and soldiers, guarded by security systems that were falling apart. The term that emerged in intelligence circles was loose nukes. Senator Sam Nunn and Senator Richard Lugar crafted emergency legislation in the Cooperative Threat Reduction Program. Within months of the Soviet collapse, the program's mission: find the weapons, secure them, and dismantle them before they vanished into the black market. What they found was terrifying. Warheads stored in facilities with broken locks, fissile material sitting in buildings with no electricity and no security cameras. Scientists who hadn't been paid in months, men with detailed knowledge of weapons design, suddenly very available to the highest bidder. Between 1991 and 2013, the Nunn-Lugar program secured and eliminated over 7,600 nuclear warheads, 902 intercontinental ballistic missiles, 33 nuclear submarines, and enough fissile material to build thousands of additional weapons. But here's the question that intelligence officials have never fully answered: how many slipped through? The honest answer is, we don't know. There's a program most people have never heard of called Megatons to Megawatts. Between 1993 and 2013, the United States purchased 500 metric tons of highly enriched uranium from dismantled Soviet nuclear warheads. That uranium was then blended down, diluted from weapons grade to reactor grade, and sold to American nuclear power plants as fuel. 500 metric tons, approximately 20,000 Soviet nuclear warheads, turned into electricity. At its peak, the program was generating approximately 10% of all electricity produced in the United States. 1 in 10 American light bulbs for 20 years was powered by dismantled Soviet nuclear bombs. That is either the most poetic story of the Cold War or the most surreal. Possibly both. Some of these weapons didn't get dismantled, some of them got lost. The United States military has a term for nuclear weapons accidents: broken arrows. Since 1950, there have been 32 acknowledged broken arrow incidents. Acknowledged: the 1966 Spain incident, 4 hydrogen bombs, 3 were recovered on land, the 4th sank into the Mediterranean. It took 80 days and a remotely operated submarine to find it, nearly a mile below the surface. Thule Air Force Base, Greenland. A B-52 carrying 4 hydrogen bombs crashes and catches fire. The conventional explosives in the weapons detonate. Plutonium is scattered across the ice. A massive cleanup operation recovers most of the contaminated material, And then there is the case of the bomb that the United States government officially acknowledges it never recovered. On February 5, 1958, a B-47 collided with an F-86 during a training exercise off the coast of Georgia. The crew jettisoned a Mark 15 thermonuclear bomb into the waters near Tybee Island to prevent a crash landing detonation. They searched for it. They never found it. The Tybee Island bomb is still out there, somewhere, in approximately 40 feet of water and silt. The Air Force concluded that because the weapon was not armed, the risk of nuclear detonation is low, not zero. The weapons that were properly retired, tracked, dismantled, accounted for, tell a story about the sheer scale of what was built. Between 1945 and the present day, the United States alone manufactured approximately 70,000 nuclear warheads. The dismantlement of those weapons has been ongoing for decades. It is, in some ways, the longest and most expensive cleanup operation in human history. The Pantex plant in Texas has been dismantling weapons since 1991. At peak production, workers were taking apart hundreds of warheads per year. The process is meticulous, dangerous, and classified. Each weapon is unique. The disassembly procedures are not standardized. Engineers sometimes work from documents that are decades old on weapons designed by people who are no longer alive. And beneath all of it sits a question that nobody in government wants to answer directly. What do you do with the plutonium? Plutonium-239 has a half-life of 24,110 years. There is no disposing of it in any meaningful human time frame. The current plan, storing it indefinitely in secure facilities, is really just another way of saying we're passing this problem to every generation that comes after us, forever. The weapons built for the end of the world are not gone. They have been reduced, restructured, modernized, and in some cases simply relocated. The United States is currently in the middle of a $1.7 trillion nuclear modernization program, new warheads, new delivery systems, new submarines, new missiles. The weapons of the Cold War are being replaced by weapons designed for a different kind of conflict, more precise, more flexible, more usable, which is, depending on who you ask, either reassuring or the most dangerous development in nuclear history. Because the bombs built in the 1950s and 60s were so enormous, so catastrophically destructive, that military planners assumed they could never actually be used. That assumption was the foundation of deterrence. The threat was so total, the response so guaranteed, that no rational actor would ever pull the trigger. The new generation of smaller, more precise nuclear weapons quietly erodes that assumption. And that is where the story of the end-of-the-world weapons leads us, not to a conclusion, but to a question. We built weapons so terrible that we convinced ourselves they would never be used. Then we spent 80 years slowly taking them apart, most of them anyway, and now we are building new ones, smaller, cleaner, more targeted. The weapons of the Cold War said if you fire one, everything dies. The weapons being built today whisper something else entirely. The bombs are still out there. The silos still exist. The submarines still prowl the deep water. The fissile material from dismantled Soviet weapons is sitting in secure facilities, waiting. And somewhere off the coast of Georgia, a hydrogen bomb from 1958 rests in the silt. None of this ended with the Cold War. It just got quieter. If this story left you with more questions than answers, good. That's the point. Drop your biggest question in the comments. I want to know what you think happened to the weapons they never officially acknowledged. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. Because this channel is just getting started on the classified programs, the buried projects, and the weapons history forgot. Like this video if it made you think. Subscribe if you want more, and I'll see you in the next one.